This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news. Nigeria, the largest oil producer in Africa, is struggling with a severe fuel shortage and soaring fuel prices. This is affecting the entire economy and making life harder for everyone. It's not just a temporary issue. It shows bigger problems in the country's oil industry, like bad policies, corruption, and old infrastructure. Nigeria is facing high fuel costs due to the government's removal of fuel subsidies, a policy previously used to make fuel affordable. Fuel subsidies started in the 1970s and became a standard practice in 1977 with the Price Control Act, which made it illegal to sell certain products, like petrol, above a set price. While subsidies are a great idea in theory, their implementation in Nigeria has been riddled with issues like corruption and mismanagement. It strained finances and encouraged smuggling and inefficiency. The removal aimed to redirect funds to other sectors, but caused a sudden spike in fuel prices, catching many off guard. Even though Nigeria is a major oil producer, it imports much of its refined petroleum due to poorly functioning refineries. Mismanagement, poor maintenance, and aging infrastructure keep the country's 4 main refineries underperforming. The launch of the Dangote refinery, praised as Africa's largest oil refinery, was expected to reduce Nigeria's reliance on fuel imports and stabilize domestic fuel prices.
You might expect the opening of the Dangote refinery to lead to cheaper petrol, as its oil is refined locally and doesn't have to be shipped in from abroad. But that's not happening. Nigeria's state-owned petroleum company, NNPC, which is the exclusive distributor of fuel from Dangote, initially set a base price equivalent to 35 US cents a liter. They recently increased it to 53 cents, and now it's gone up again to 58 cents.
NNPC claims the estimated prices are based on negotiated terms between NNPC Limited and Dangote Refinery, considering the current international fuel prices and prevailing foreign exchange rates, in line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act.
A representative from the Dangote Refinery denied this, leading experts to call for more clarity from the NNPC as to how fuel prices are set.
The fuel scarcity in Nigeria is making life tough. Long lines at petrol stations means hours or even days spent trying to get fuel, causing stress and cutting into productivity. On top of that, fuel hoarding and black market sales are on the rise, creating more safety concerns. Many households rely on diesel generators during shortages, but these are inefficient, polluting the air and hurting the environment. Rising fuel prices are forcing many workers, especially low-income and informal workers, to quit their jobs because they can no longer afford commuting costs. To keep employees and stay operational, some businesses are covering part of their workers' transportation costs, even if it reduces their profits. The frustration has sparked protests, with people losing faith in the government's ability to manage resources and stabilize the economy. While the government has taken steps like stabilizing the currency and improving the fuel supply chain, many feel their struggles are being ignored. Calls for policy changes and better resource management are growing louder. Some experts believe removing subsidies is necessary for reform, but others think it's been handled poorly.
Nigerians are going through tough economic challenges as the cost of goods and services soars. Even petrol, which the country has in abundance, is now too expensive for many.
The economy is largely dependent on petrol, so the prices of petrol will affect the price of bread in the market, to affect the price of rice, to affect the price of wheat. The bakeries will suffer. The textile industries will suffer. So why don't you subsidize the economy instead of subsidizing politicians?
Twice this year, Nigerians took to the streets to protest against the rising cost of living, triggered by the high price of petrol. Since the last demonstration in July, prices have risen by 65%. We've come to one of the petrol stations on the outskirts of the capital, Abuja. The price here is 73 cents a litre. It's higher in other parts of the country. This price determines what happens to nearly all the cost of goods and services in the country, especially foodstuff. The rising prices have deepened Nigeria's cost of living crisis.
In August 2024, Nigerian authorities launched a compressed natural gas, or CNG, initiative to reduce transportation costs by 50 to 60%. The plan aims to use Nigeria's large gas reserves to introduce CNG buses and convert petrol-powered vehicles. So far, more than $200 million has been invested, and 100,000 vehicles now run on CNG or hybrid systems. The goal is to convert 1 million of the country's 11 million vehicles within 3 years. However, the initiative faces challenges. Progress has been slow due to poor planning, limited infrastructure, and low public awareness. Many drivers are hesitant to adopt CNG, with some fearing explosions during conversion. Regulators say these concerns are due to improperly installed equipment. Conversion stations are only available in 13 of Nigeria's 36 states, leading to long wait times in major cities. Costs are another issue. Private vehicle conversion costs 20 times the monthly minimum wage. Also, a lack of gas pipelines has left northern and eastern regions without access to this program, further limiting its reach.
Compared to the cost of petrol, and you'll save about 60% in terms of your cost of petrol. So you have more money in your pocket. It's cleaner. It's cleaner for the environment. So the air that you and I breathe, the more of us who switch to CNG, the better for our environment.
As a transporter, time is money. When I was using fuel, I go to the filling station just to buy fuel and leave. But now that I'm using CNG, I spend more time in the filling station to buy gas. And the reason why I spend more time there is that there is no availability of filling points there.
The fuel crisis in Nigeria continues to weigh heavily on everyday people, making life tougher and stretching people's budgets to the limit. The country's economy, reliant on oil exports, struggles with global oil price volatility, foreign exchange shortages, and a weakened currency. Tackling corruption, improving infrastructure, diversifying the economy, and implementing sustainable energy solutions are necessary for lasting change.
Puerto Rico's history is marked by its transition from a Spanish colony to a U.S. territory, highlighted by political tension and natural disasters. UNN Field Messenger Melissa tells us more about this history.
For UN Field Messenger from the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean islands, and I hope you enjoy this report about the history of Puerto Rico, the status of Puerto Rico with the United States. In the Treaty of Paris of 1898, Puerto Rico was ceded to the United States. The last Spanish troops and loyalists withdrew the island on October 18, 1899. Puerto Rico and Cuba had sugar, valuable commodity which was abundant and lacking in the United States. Puerto Rico also had a strategic position and served as a valuable U.S. naval station after the Spanish-American War. From 1898 to 1900, 4 commanding generals ruled the island. The administration was the responsibility of the U.S. Department of War Division of Insular Affairs and became a U.S. colony, which meant that United States Constitution protection did not apply as Puerto Rico belonged to the United States but was not part of the United States. The Foraker Act of 1900 was established to make a civilian government, but the positions of governor, chief of police, the top officials were appointed only by the U.S. government and could only be Americans. In May 17, 1932, U.S. Congress changed the name from Puerto Rico to Puerto Rico, changed the currency from Puerto Rico pesos to U.S. dollars, prohibited Puerto Rico from negotiating commercial treaties with other nations, from determining tariffs, and from shipping goods to the mainland other than using U.S. carriers. Constitution of Puerto Rico was drafted and then approved by Constitutional Convention on February 6, 1952, ratified by the U.S. Congress, approved by President Truman on July 3, 1952, and then the UN was advised the status of Puerto Rico as being a free associate state, most commonly known as Commonwealth, or free governing territory of the United States. In 1999, the Puerto Rican government urged the UN Colonization Committee to intervene and return Puerto Rico back on the list of non-self-governing territories and removing colonial status. In November 2012, there was a vote or plebiscite to become a U.S. state, but many voters left the status question blank, leaving U.S. lawmakers into questioning whether Puerto Ricans actually wanted statehood or not. In June 2015, Puerto Rican governor announced Puerto Rico could not meet its debt obligations. Puerto Rico and federal government made it possible for the Commonwealth to declare bankruptcy. In 2016, U.S. President Obama created a Puerto Rican Oversight Management and Stability Act, allowing Puerto Ricans to restructure the $70 billion in debt with an oversight committee with 7 members called the Junta. In 2017, Hurricane Maria Category 5 destroyed the electricity infrastructure, which left the island without power and had an additional $90 billion in damages. Also in 2020, storm earthquakes happened in the southwest part of the island close to the shores, which caused $3.1 million in damages. Then in 2022, Hurricane Fiona knocked down the island's electrical grid again, causing $2 billion in additional damages. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy this video that I presented. And thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
The graceful movements of hula dancers capture the spirit of Hawaii, its gods, and cultural traditions. UNN Field Messenger Rick tells us more about this rich cultural heritage.
Hi, this is Rick reporting from United Network News. I'm here at Waikiki Beach Park.
Good afternoon and aloha.
Aloha.
Here in beautiful downtown Waikiki, as we share with you what's known as Kuha'aheo, to cherish with pride our culture through the living traditions of Hawaiian music, or the mele, and the Hawaiian dance, or the, as we do in the old days, with the blowing of the conch, signifying something very important.
Yeah, he runs too.
My wife and I have visited Hawaii many times, and we just love it. There's something about Hawaii that is magical. And one of the things is hula. Hula is an important part of the Hawaiian culture and history. It's an ancient dance, and it's a form of telling the story of the Hawaiian people and their land. Hula is also very important in the way they communicate and have communicated in the past. It's a way of connecting with the spirit of aloha and love. When hula is performed, it's a way to show respect to the gods and the goddesses of Hawaii. It's not very often that you get to see the guys dance, but it was explained to us that this is a dance about the fishermen throwing their nets in and having to be careful about the slippery rocks and waves. I hope you enjoyed this field message report. This is Rick, United Network News. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, is one of the most commonly discussed, yet often misunderstood, neurodevelopmental conditions. It affects individuals across all age groups, influencing how they focus, manage time, regulate emotions, and process information. ADHD diagnoses are skyrocketing in many countries. Still, some experts are rethinking ADHD altogether. Should it really be called a disorder? Or is it just one way of thinking and functioning in a diverse world? According to the Centers for Disease Control, about 6 in 10 children in the U.S. have moderate or severe ADHD. It shows up in different ways for different people, but it generally comes down to a mix of symptoms that fall into 2 main categories: inattention and hyperactivity or impulsivity. When it comes to inattention, people might find it hard to stay focused, make careless mistakes, forget things often, or struggle to follow instructions and complete tasks. On the flip side, hyperactivity and impulsivity look like fidgeting, talking too much, having a hard time sitting still, acting without thinking, and interrupting others. These symptoms can vary a lot in how intense they are and how they impact someone's day-to-day life, which is why ADHD can look a little different for everyone.
5 misconceptions about ADHD that need to be eliminated today. Number 1, everyone with ADHD is hyper and overactive. This is false. Some people with ADHD can sit perfectly still. Number 2, people with ADHD cannot focus on anything for long periods of time. This is completely false. In fact, if you ask someone with ADHD if they can focus on things they like to do for long periods of time, they will say yes. Number 3, ADHD is a childhood issue that people grow out of. This is an antiquated belief that is entirely false. There are adults that have ADHD. People with ADHD don't just outgrow it. Number 4, ADHD is caused by problematic parenting. Totally false. You can be the greatest parents in the world and still have a child with ADHD. Number 5, ADD and ADHD are different diagnoses. No, ADD is the former term that was used and has been replaced by ADHD.
The dramatic jump in ADHD cases worldwide, year over year, has led many people to question if ADHD is being overdiagnosed. There is no definitive biological marker for ADHD, so the process depends on interpreting observable behavior and reported experiences. This subjectivity can lead to inconsistent diagnosis and potential bias, especially when cultural or socioeconomic factors come into play. Some experts worry normal childhood behavior is being labeled as a disorder due to pressure on parents and schools to find explanations for academic and behavioral challenges. This has raised concerns about unnecessary medication use and the potential for children to be treated with drugs that may have side effects and long-term implications.
So stimulants like Ritalin or Adderall are the number one prescribed treatments for kids who have ADHD. It is never number one in my mind. Now, I'm not opposed to medicine. It's not the first thing I think of. The first thing I think of is what's their diet like. There's a study from Holland that was replicated that showed when you put kids on an elimination diet, they got rid of gluten, dairy, corn, soy, artificial dyes, and sweeteners. 70% did not have ADD after 3 months. Diet is so important. There's another study with phosphatidylserine showing that it can be effective. Another study with pycnogenol, marine pine bark, shown that that can be helpful. You also want to make sure you check their ferritin levels. Ferritin is a measure of iron storage because low ferritin levels have been associated with ADD, and just giving them ferritin sometimes can make a huge positive difference.
When it comes to managing ADHD naturally, exercise is great because it boosts brain chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which help with focus and reducing hyperactivity. Eating a balanced diet rich in omega-3s, protein, and complex carbs can also support brain function and keep energy levels stable. Don't underestimate the power of sleep either. Getting enough rest helps with attention and emotional control. Mindfulness and meditation are fantastic for calming the mind and improving focus, making it easier to stay present. Limiting screen time can also help minimize distractions. And while it's not a cure-all, certain supplements like amino acids, fish oil, or B vitamins might offer some extra support. While ADHD is often associated with challenges, it can come with unique strengths and benefits that are often overlooked. People with ADHD are typically super creative and innovative, always thinking outside the box and bringing fresh ideas to the table. Their ability to hyper-focus on things they care about can lead to incredible productivity, especially when they're passionate about what they're working on. Plus, that high energy they often have can turn into enthusiasm and drive, making them excel in fast-paced, ever-changing environments. People with ADHD are also usually pretty spontaneous and adaptable, which can be a huge plus when things don't go as planned. And their natural curiosity and willingness to take risks, that's what helps them find new solutions and push boundaries.
It's hard to explain. I think my brain makes a lot of sense in the studio, and I think actually part of this journey was like leaning into that and saying, you know what? I have ADHD. Wow, good to know what it is now, age 42 or something. And then come in to the studio and go, wow, I feel normal in here. My brain feels totally normal. Like I meant to have this brain. And so that's a part of it, right? Is like doing what you do, what your passion is, your calling, so you can like be yourself.
Lean into it. We've talked a lot about ADHD on this program, particularly women being diagnosed with it, and how much harder it is, and how it takes a bit longer. You were 42 when you got your diagnosis?
I was about 42, 43 actually. Yeah, diagnosed with ADHD. I think I noticed more that it was kind of starting to really get in the way when I was stay at home with the kids, because I didn't have a creative outlet. I think like this type of musical creative outlet. Because I think we need identity. You know what I mean? I think identity is an important part of the self-love.
Did you feel like you lost your identity?
Yeah, a little bit. Some of the identity of like just identifying as like somebody who expresses themselves through melody and lyric. I mean, I've been doing that since I was 4 years old. I used to just open my mouth. I didn't understand. I would just sing outside in the backyard and just like it would just channel through me and for hours. So that's important, right? Because that's me. That's who I am. So I think when I got busy, it was like, oh, wait a second, there's like a disconnect here.
When it comes to ADHD, it's important to look at the whole picture, both the struggles and the strength it brings. Sure, there are challenges that can make everyday life tougher, but let's not forget the incredible benefits that can come with it as well. It's all about finding the right balance, whether you choose medication or a more natural path to help control it. When we approach ADHD with empathy and understanding, we can create a more supportive world where everyone impacted can thrive. Every time you hit your car's brakes, you waste energy. When your car slows down, its kinetic energy turns into heat and is lost. And engineers have found a way to capture some of that energy. It's called regenerative braking. Originally used in trolley cars, regenerative braking is now common in electric vehicles, electric bikes, and even Formula One race cars. It's an innovative way to save energy and improve efficiency. The concept behind regenerative braking is simple, yet ingenious. When you press the brake pedal, the electric motor runs in reverse, slowing the car and generating electricity. Regenerative brakes work best in stop-and-go traffic, but are backed up by traditional friction brakes when more stopping power is needed. Drivers may notice the brake pedal feels different in these situations, which can be surprising at first. The captured energy can then be stored and used to power the vehicle or even other systems within the transit network.
So normally when you're driving a gas vehicle, when you let off of the accelerator or the gas pedal, your car is going to coast. It's going to continue to move forward until you press on that brake. But one feature I love about electric vehicles is they're equipped with regenerative braking. So when I let off of the accelerator, my car is actually going to slow down. So there's this stoplight up here. As soon as I let off of the accelerator, my car is going to start slowing down and bring my car to a stop. And while it's doing that, it also helps recharge the batteries. So if you're slowing down a lot, the more you do that, the more your batteries are going to get charged up. This also means I can do one pedal driving, so I'm not hitting the brake as much and not doing as much wear and tear to those brakes, meaning they don't need replaced as often.
One of the major advantages of regenerative braking is its ability to reduce energy consumption and operating costs. Studies show conventional cars are only about 20% energy efficient, with the other 80% lost as heat through friction. Regenerative braking helps capture up to half of that wasted energy and reuse it, potentially cutting fuel consumption by 10 to 25%. Hydraulic regenerative braking systems are even more impressive, reducing fuel use by up to 45%. This technology also extends the driving range of electric vehicles by allowing batteries to last longer without needing an external charge. However, there are still some challenges keeping it from being used everywhere. For starters, how much energy it can recover depends on things like road conditions, traffic, and driving habits, which make it tricky to capture energy in all situations consistently. Then there's the need for high-capacity energy storage, but current battery tech is still limited by cost, size, and materials. Plus, adding regenerative braking to existing vehicles can get pretty expensive and complicated. To tackle these challenges, researchers and industry leaders need to team up and come up with smarter designs and innovative solutions. Regenerative braking has exciting potential, including powering other electrical systems in innovative and efficient ways. For example, in Barcelona, Spain, the transit system uses regenerative braking to turn subway trains into energy sources.
Spain has just revealed a very, very interesting technology here where they are literally powering electric cars through trains. Now, generally when you have a train and you have to stop that train, it would just waste energy because you have to essentially use energy to stop the train. But that's just changed. Barcelona has rolled out EV chargers that are powered by regenerative train braking. So when a train brakes, it powers your electric car.
This system is expected to bring significant environmental benefits as it covers 41% of the train's energy needs. It has also reduced metro temperatures, making commutes more comfortable. However, challenges still remain. The project has an upfront cost of $8.6 million, although project leaders expect to recover the investment in 4 to 5 years through energy savings and EV charging revenue. Another issue is whether trains are compatible or would require expensive retrofitting. Finding space for inverters or EV chargers in crowded cities is also a hurdle. Regenerative braking is a game changer, but like any innovative tech, it still has some issues to work out. With continued advancements in energy storage and smarter designs, its potential is huge, not just for vehicles, but for entire transit systems. Who knows? The energy from your daily commute could soon be powering more than just your ride.
Featuring uplifting live music and stunning hot air balloons, the Northwest Art and Air Festival in Albany, Oregon is a fun experience for all. UNN Field Messenger Kim captures the excitement of this event.
Hi there, Kim here. I'm at the Northwest Art and Air Festival here in Albany, Oregon. And I'm really excited because we're going to see some cool art, we're going to see some air balloons, and we're going to see some great music. So enjoy!
Here's one of the entrances over the bridge into Timberland Park. Now we're heading down through the Arts and Crafts Market, where there are over 60 artists from all over the Northwest displaying their arts like pottery, jewelry, glasswork, and metal art. Live music from MC Mikens got us all up dancing in anticipation of the hot air balloon night glow. The hot air balloon glow was spectacular. There were thousands of people enjoying this beautiful, colourful display, and the park was illuminated and electrified with fun and excitement. The music continued throughout the night, and the balloons seemed to be dancing with us and the music. It was so much fun to meet new friends to share our experience with. The next day, there was a classic car show and free shuttle rides to the park in this old restored trolley from the 1800s. In the evening, over the lake in the amphitheatre, we were treated to live music from the Little River Band. I grew up with these guys in Australia, and it was so amazing to see them play and sound so good. Early next morning, we were treated to the balloons taking flight across the Albany sky. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this messenger report, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.
Now it's your turn. Join our weekly meetings and become a field messenger. More information is available at our website, unitednetwork.earth. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.